I really liked what Bethan just described about the nature of the challenges that we all face. You know, that systemic, big sort of social challenges are not new in society. We've always had them, but sustainability poses a very distinct type of challenge. And whether it's the climate change or whether it's the biodiversity loss, and the nature of that challenge can be really overwhelming, actually. I think, let's be honest about it. I think Bethan did a nice job of sort of balancing overwhelming with empowering, and you kind of need that. But she's also very clear that the scale of the challenge is something that cannot be fixed by any body or any institution or any country or any, it genuinely has to be some sort of unprecedented collective effort. And so, for me, actually, having this kind of I'm just trying to work out so actually having the very nature of the challenge is that it's not just big but also interdisciplinary. It has to bring people together. It has to bring people together from different skill sets and backgrounds and understandings of the world and so on, because there is no alternative. So actually, being in a setting, so I'm going to find out who you are in a moment. I'm going to ask you who you are, but being in a setting where you're interacting with people from different contexts and backgrounds actually is a really important part of what addressing this problem is all about. So before we get to the panel, let me just ask who you are. And I think let's make this as interactive as we can, likewise for our interns here on the stage. So can I start over there?
Hi, I'm Michelle Waterman. I work at the British Academy.
Okay. What do you do for the British Academy? And you can tell us what the British Academy is as well.
Sure. Actually, Paris and I both work for the British Academy.
Okay.
It's the National Academy for the Humanities and Social Sciences. So we have a fellowship, 1,400 fellows. We provide funding, research funding. We do public policy work as well as a public engagement program. And I work with Paris on the Early Career Researcher Network, which you'll hear from them.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Oh, sorry, yeah, can you...
Should we get the...
Yeah. Sorry. Hi, Russia.
Hi, everybody. Yes, Paris Thua from the British Academy.
Hi, I'm Christina Lee. I'm actually currently an MBA student at the Saïd Business School.
Are you really? Okay,
Oxford.
wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks to Rashan for inviting me. Previous to pursuing my MBA, I was working at National Geographic, doing climate change research expeditions and partnerships. And currently my focus is about philanthropy and how it can be a lever of change in kind of this triple problem that we're all focusing on, business, policy, people, but I think that philanthropic funding has its own kind of special power in all of this as well. So, yeah.
Very good.
Hi everyone, I'm Catherine and I'm the founder and chief exec at an organisation called Refugee Education UK, and we work to support refugee children and young people to get into education as quickly as possible when they arrive in the UK and then to thrive as best as they can when they're there. And it's a combination of frontline work, policy work and research, and I'll talk a little bit more about it later.
Very good.
Hi. Hi, yes, so I'm Evian, or Evie for short, and I'm a first-year cybersecurity graduate at Vodafone, and I'm also vice chair of a sort of employee research network that we've got called Volunteer to Code, and no, it's Vodafone Coding Club, but I'm head of the team Volunteer to Code, and what we do mainly is just to focus on just finding external organizations and charities to help support and offer mentoring from, and get different youth at Vodafone involved in different volunteering opportunities. So yeah, we're really happy to be here.
Did you say cybersecurity advisor?
No, cybersecurity graduate.
Cybersecurity graduate.
Yeah, so
it's pretty scary stuff.
Yeah, it's busy time.
yeah, I believe that.
Hi everyone, how are you?
Hi,
It's wonderful to see you. My name is Rasha, and I'm the founder of the Micro University. And it's a genuine joy to see everyone here today. Thank you so much. Hi, girls. Yay. It's just, so thank you so much, Richard. It's wonderful to see you. And I can't wait to really create this wonderful conversation and to really think about new ideas and to share ideas. Thank you so much, Mandeep. It's wonderful to see everybody and to create new ideas and share ideas together. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Rasha. Do you want to introduce your interns first, or do you want to?
No, well, we could do it afterwards.
Okay, why don't you go there? Yeah, I'll let you introduce yourself, Andy, because we're such a small group.
Okay. Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
You need the mic for the recording.
All right, is that better? Okay, so firstly, I love the idea of making this interactive because this is meant to serve you. Secondly, I was just going to change the slide, if I may, because I thought the penultimate slide, if it works. Oh, we don't have access to the slideshow? Just to the previous slide, if we're able to. Yeah. Oh, I see, it's your laptop, thank you. So I'm Dr. Mandeep Rai, and I'm the author of the book that you have in front of you. And the purpose of this book, guys, I have one for each of you. I'm just going to pass it to you. It's just... Yeah. The purpose of our session is to really answer the penultimate slide that we had, which was, what are we doing? How do we get to our kind of deepest why? And how can we make that habitual? And the reason I have these young ladies on the stage is because they're my interns right now. And I always think that if we're talking about how to be confident speakers, that's perfect. Then we have to have a chance to speak. So I just wanted to make sure they had a chance. So first, actually, I'm going to have them introduce themselves, and then I'm going to take you through a little session. So Hadassah, over to you. Maybe your name, what school you come from, and what are your highlights of this week?
Hello, my name is Hadassah Jossa. I'm an A-level student. I'm in year 13, so I've just finished my exams. I come from Paddington Academy. Nice environment. So yeah, I've just finished my exams. I go to Paddington Academy 6th form, and hopefully I'll be going to uni to study maybe global health and social medicine, or maybe geography if I change.
Hi everybody, I'm Simrat, and I'm an A-level student currently studying English, History and Sociology. I'm in year 12, so I'm going to be doing my A-levels next year, and I'm thinking of becoming a journalist.
Hello, my name is Harleen. I'm the same age as Simrat, so I'm in year 12 and I'm studying maths, economics, politics, and I'm thinking of becoming an economist or going into the financial field.
Brilliant. Keep it, girls, because you'll need it. And that's the case for all of us. Anytime, this is, interactive. So whenever you have something to say, please, and the mic is yours. So the aim of this session was really for us to just become really clear about our own values. Now, the book in front of you does take you around the world, but rather than stereotyping the world with different values, the aim of it is to show the best of the world in different values. So depending on where we are in terms of our geography, or the history of our nation, or the geopolitical climate, the psychology, the sociology, etc., we all want to become our very best selves, but that's pivoted into a slightly different form depending on where we are. So, if I were to, I love that you're deep diving into the book, but if I was to have you for a moment to close your eyes and let me take you somewhere different. Take a deep breath. Feel your feet on the floor, your palms perhaps on your lap, with your hands open outwards, open wide, in that kind of receptive mode. If you were to take another deep belly breath in and out, thank you, good point, in and out, and release. And then your third breath, and as you take a really deep breath, I'm having you land at your 80th birthday party. This is such a celebration. Everyone you know and love are there surrounding you. And in this birthday party, there was cake, there were candles, everyone's in a really jubilant mood, you're in full health and vitality. And as well as you saying thank you to everybody who came, there's someone who you adore who stands up to give a speech. And they know you super, super well. And they kind of deliver such a speech that it makes you glow inside out. It's like sharing the very best of you. And what are they saying? Let that speech run in your mind for a few moments. Maybe they're saying, every time she walks in the room lights up. Or she's been such an incredible parent, grandparent, great-grandparent. Or what a trailblazer. What sense of style? What incredible humor? A real sense of excellence and such high standards. Or always was a great listener, or is a great listener. Empathetic, compassionate, loving, positive, vibrant, steady, cool, calm, collected. You name it, you know what are the words that will make you light up, and let them resonate inside of you. I'm just going to be silent now for about 30 seconds to a minute, just so you can hear your speech. Take another deep breath. Let your shoulders drop. Bring a smile to your face because this is a celebration of your life. Have it so that it's been a real life worth living. What happened in your one wild and precious life that you're being celebrated at this moment? And now take a deep breath and open your eyes. And with that in mind, now if you look at the contents of the book, the first 5 pages, you'll see, don't worry too much about the country words, but you'll see a lot of the values-based words, perhaps the words that were resonating in your mind, some of them might be within the first 5 pages. And if they're not, that also doesn't matter, because it might be a word bespoke or unique to you, or something in your language. It really doesn't matter what word it is. What's much more important is that you begin to come closer to what you stand for. So the aim here is that of all the 100+ different values that there are, or more, it's to help you become clearer about, which are relevant and which are not relevant. So those that aren't relevant, it'll be almost 80 that aren't relevant. 20 you'll think, maybe. And with a few key questions, we can get to your top 5. And as we get closer to what really is important to you, the power of this is to get closer to your number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, i.e. to prioritize them. Richard, I notice you don't have a book, so I want to make sure you do. And I feel as though these girls went through that process and that journey, and they thought, as we're thinking about the long term, we could concentrate on our strengths, but more importantly almost is to concentrate on your legacy. And if you look really far out, it's amazing what perspective can do. How you don't then necessarily sweat the small stuff. How you have a sense of not just the bigger picture, but you know how perspective can change everything. So I'm going to pause for a second and ask a question to all of you, including you guys. Think of a time, because often thinking about the positive is a helpful way of getting there, but thinking about a difficult time, you get there even faster. So think of a time when you felt like you were punched in the stomach. Something happened and you felt it in your body, or almost in a really powerful way, almost that something happened and you had an illogical reaction. It was really like, oh, I can't believe this has occurred. So for some people that can be when they're lied to. Honesty is important to everybody, but for some people, honesty is really just, if they're lied to, that's it. They will never really interact with you in the same way again. They might walk out of that job or the organization or that relationship. That's what honesty means to them. Hands up if I know one of you is the firstborn. Hands up if you're the firstborn. Okay, so 4 in the room. That means the other 5, 6 are actually second or thirdborn. So maybe, I'm not saying it is, but sometimes justice can be really important to the second or the thirdborn. You're very aware of what number 1 got, and you want to make sure that you get the same. No. Okay. It's really amazing. This laptop worked just a minute ago, and now it just refuses to present anything, so we won't worry about that. Thank you so, so much. Thank you. Anybody want to share a time that they think, or may I ask, do you two know each other because you work often together? Okay, so if I were to ask you about your colleague, is there a value that you think already, not knowing what she's going to be like when she's 80, but just from what you know of her now, is there something that you think is actually really important to your colleague? You already see it. Please take a book as you come down. And join us on the first row. Good call. Harleen, thank you.
So I've worked with Paris on, it's the Early Career Researcher Network that the British Academy runs. And she really embodies the ethos of that network. It is for researchers by researchers. So at the core of that is really listening to what people say and think and want and trying to make that work. So there's a bit of the empathy side, but it's much more about turning that empathy into action. So I don't know if it's encompassed in any of these values, but it's everything they do is think about, is this easy to get to for people? Is this going to help them on their journey in life? So it's probably deep empathy in what the whole group is about. I mean, that's been my experience of you. So,
do you think that's true?
Yes, I would say I'm quite empathetic. Yes.
Yes.
it might not be the right word, but definitely I see you embody it every day.
Yeah. Appreciate that.
And what would you say for your colleague?
So yeah, I've been working with Michelle now, 7 years, but closely in probably the last 4 or 5 years. And I would say with Michelle, she's very determined and very pragmatic, but also really likes to empower others. So she mostly has all the answers, I would say, but I think she's really good in encouraging and bringing people along and listening to everybody and being really supportive. I think she's very nurturing, and even though she's in a senior position at the academy, she's always very inclusive of everybody and very kind, and yeah, always has idea. Her brain doesn't stop working, but she's always brings you in and ensures that you kind of learn something, but as well she learns from you, and I think just really but very, very smart as well.
So inclusive, nurturing, empathetic. Can you see that already? You don't have to necessarily you might think, I don't know what my values are, but your behavior and the way you are is almost like written on your forehead. You don't have to look too far. And even with you guys, even though you've been working together just for a week, you will already know what's important to the other. So sometimes when we're looking at what do I want to, you know, what do I want to double dip into, you know, like what's most important to me, it's really interesting and easy to do a 360. We've just created an app called the 360 Know Thyself. And it asks just two questions. But as it asks you those two questions, it also asks the people, like it does a peer review. And you wouldn't believe how much you get from those two questions. So the two questions are, what's important to you, or who are you, or what's important to you, and what could you do better? So let's say curiosity is important. Actually, we could find different ways of learning or other ways of learning. For example, I'm just giving you an example. And you can see that if you know that great Greek oracle, like know thyself, what greater gift could there be? Now, Rasha's being very quiet, but I know she is a very deep well, so I'm going to she's like looking at me going, don't give me the mic. But I'm going to give you the mic, Rasha, for a moment, because I feel as though in kind of having this as something you have run forward with for so many years now, and before this there was a precursor, and before that there was a precursor, there's something particular that you want to gift or that you want to take forward. Share to us the vision, and that already you are creating your legacy.
You're very, very, very kind, and just to have everyone in the room is the gift itself, really is. And to be able to share ideas and pass them on is the gift. And, to be able to come together in a world of today when everything is so fast and, time is a real gift. Time is golden. And to be able to say, I value you as a friend, I respect you as a friend, I see you, and I value spending time with you, and I value sharing those ideas with the next generation. That is, if you call it the vision, that is the gift. And that is what we're doing here today, is sharing our ideas with the next generation so that ideas don't get lost. And, that is exactly what we're doing here. And then you girls can pass on your ideas to your families and to other wonderful girls and young guys and all of that. It's so cool to share ideas. And, this is exactly what you're doing in your incredible book. And it's valuing beautiful friendships, beautiful girlfriends, and saying, I love being with you and spending time with you. And, sisterhood is very, very important. To say, I've got your back, I've got you, no matter what. That is very, very important, turning up, being there, and saying, I've got you, no matter what happens. That's another value. And, to say that I'll always be there for you, no matter what happens. And, today's world is very, very fast. But to say that I will be there for you and I've got your back.
Take a book as you come in, please, ladies. Just one there. Just pick one up each. Yep.
Is one of those things that is very rare, especially between us girls. So to have friends and girlfriends that will have your back, no matter what happens, is wonderful.
Very well said. And I think that there's this one, when we use this in a corporate setting, just coming from a place where you are seeing the best in one another, you wouldn't believe how that elevates the team. So instead of the person who walks in late, they always walk in late, you've got in your mind, actually, what they value is XXX. And that, of every £4 or dollars that an organisation will spend, if you get this values piece correct, you save a quarter of that. It's in the way you communicate, not just internally, but also externally, the way you're able to elaborate about your vision. You're not then selling Colgate, even if you're selling Colgate. You're actually part of something much bigger, something that inspires and takes you forward. Now, I just want to give the microphone for a moment to these young ladies. Thank you, Rashid. Very well said. Because it's really interesting how often, when I walk in organisations, they say, the youth of today, you know, God, what's wrong with them? And I get a whole list of things that the older generation find is very difficult about the younger generation. And you might think, well, this is age-old. We've been hearing it, you know, over millennia. But actually, the way that generations now are being created, it's such that they're much shorter time spans. So, for example, when these girls were growing up, social media was a thing. Now, children are growing up and AI has changed the world completely. And within 5 years, you have a completely different generation to what you did, you know, previously. So although we used to think a generation was 20 years, 20 years, 20 years, it just isn't the case anymore. Their collective experience is so different. Secondly, we're finding that because we're living so much longer, like as opposed to 60, 70 years, we're now likely 90 years, that idea of working for 20 years, studying for 20 years, working for 40 years, and then dropping off, retiring, stroke dying, is just not the model anymore. We're going to have to keep on educating ourselves and contribute for a much longer time. So I set these girls a task and said, look, people don't understand neither the challenges you have nor the solutions. So could each of you maybe share with us something, like let's write an article about something that will help the others understand. And so each of them chose a very different topic. Harleen chose like the best, what was it, the best?
I chose enjoying the little things in life.
Yeah.
I'm quite young, so I know for myself I've set big goals, and sometimes when I'm focusing too much on them, I forget to, you know, be proud of what the small things that I achieve every day or do well and just celebrate that. So I thought this would be an article that not just people my age and just older generations could relate to as well, because you're always going to have a goal, you're always going to have a target, but it's just about appreciating the small things in life, and every day when you achieve something, just being thankful, being happy about it, because obviously it's such a big deal.
And so this article was published, and what happened as a result?
Right, so as I mentioned before, I'm interested in going to the financial field, so now it's the busy time of the year where I've been applying to loads of internships and work experiences. And as a result, I used the article that Dr. Ryan and myself wrote in part of one of my applications, and I've landed an internship at PwC over the summer.
So it really helped her to stand out because she was just authentic about, you know, having the pressure that she has on her and not being able to necessarily enjoy the moments that we all forget to. And it's so beautiful being in a zoo where even the little things like the flowers and the buds, there's actually really big things like giraffes and elephants that can remind us of the beauty of life. So perfectly said. Simrat, would you like to share?
So currently I'm thinking of writing an article on pretty privilege. So pretty privilege is the privilege that people have that are socially considered attractive. And I feel like we as a society talk about all the advantages of having that privilege of being socially attractive, but not the disadvantages. And that's what I'm going to be exploring in my article.
And so she shared with us this, you know that poster, I'm not sure if you know, but often in the female toilets, there's this poster right now of a man kind of staring at a woman on a train. And the sign under the poster is, well, are you going to do anything about it? And so Simrat literally had this moment yesterday on the train where a gentleman was making her feel very uncomfortable. And who was there to do anything about it? And what do we as women need to know to be able to, you know, remind the gentleman to actually be a gentleman? Or what do you do in a situation like that? And so I think back to your point, Rasha, like having each other's back, talking about these type of things, that you can't easily talk to your parents about, because they might say, well, you shouldn't have been on that train in the first place, or why are you even going out, or whatever. And so you kind of have to talk about it to your peers or to other elders to see how can you handle these moments, and how can you feel empowered in those moments, rather than feeling like, oh, I wish I could just shrink and disappear. I love the fact that there's so many nodding heads. Simrat, you have many people here who are going to be able to contribute to your article right here.
I love a lot of feedback because I'm still planning it. So anything you guys have.
Great. Hadessa?
So I'm doing an article on the topic of loneliness, which I feel like at least one person in their lifetime is going to have a moment where they feel lonely. I think this article, although I didn't choose it, it was given to me, I think it was kind of like God-given, because I have experienced loneliness in my lifetime as well, being different and coming from an area where you have to be very strong-minded to be able to survive and to know who you are. So even now, I feel like I'm in a period of loneliness. And I feel like as a society, especially with the rise of technology, loneliness is more paramount. It may seem like ironic because we're more connected, but the fact that we're more connected means that there's less social connection, interactions is all online. So I think the topic of loneliness is often not spoken about in a world where connectivity is paramount.
It was interesting because we were we conducted an interview with a Goldman Sachs, more than a graduate. She was a Goldman Sachs employee, and she became sick. And she was like, I had everything, success, fulfillment, happiness. It seemed like I had everything, as in, I'm in the city, surrounded by friends, all should be well. And then I become ill, and I couldn't have felt more isolated. And she's the one who then created an app, and Hadessa and the team and I interviewed her. And the girls originally were like, oh, she's creating another technological solution for something that actually we just want to connect, right? We're lonely. And this founder made a really good point. She said, what I'm doing with this app is to help nudge people so that actually, if whatever they're feeling that morning, they make a track of what helped and what they need to do more of. But my major criteria here is, you're not lonely if you have someone who could look after your cat. We all need about 150 people and maybe 5. This is great. This is enough if we even have that. Yeah. Don't worry.
No, there's a power supply problem. That's why
a
it's switching
power supply.
off.
Okay, perfect.
So we're getting the power supply.
Okay, thank you. We apparently we all need 5 core friends and 150, a village of 150, and even that is difficult given how we live and where we live. And so she had said, for those apps that say, oh, well, you can just ask your bot or your AI friend or whatever. If your AI friend can't look after your cat, or your bot can't look after your cat, unlikely they're going to be able to look after you or your mother if they become sick. And that is the key point of dealing with, are you lonely? Do you have support or don't you? And so, thank you, Hadessa. So with this kind of looking at your values, the point is that, let's say you decide any one of these things are your values, like community or empathy or beauty or caring or whatever. Maybe it's health. Let's say health is your number one value, which was the case during the pandemic for the world. If health is your number one value, you might decide, actually, I'm going to make this habitual. Every morning I'm going to try and do something active, because if I don't do it first thing, I find it doesn't get done. Or I'm going to make sure or try not to eat sugar until at least midday or 4 o'clock so that I can change my metabolism. Or make my system alkaline as opposed to, there are so many ways we can do this. As soon as that number one value becomes habitual, that you've put habits into your day, you don't have to make it a number one anymore. Like the number 2 becomes a number 1. Your life is incrementally going in that direction of legacy that you had wished for it to go. And so it's amazing at what these values are able to do, how they're able to change your life. And what we find is that values are true. There are certain values that are true for your whole life, like nature versus nurture, like things that are inbuilt in you, how your body always reacts to things. But there are other values of your choosing. And for a certain period of time, maybe while your children are small, or while you're at college, or before you get your promotion, whatever it is, whatever time period you give yourself, there'll be a certain period of time that you'll have a certain set of values. And then you roll and choose again for the next period of your life. And again, you find that you're able to incrementally change and adapt. So given that this is an interactive session, for the 3 newcomers in the room, would you like to introduce yourselves? Just who you are, where you come from, what brought you here.
Hi. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. My name is Amalie Coleman. I'm the Education and International Development Manager at BEI, which stands for British Expertise International. We are a membership organisation, and we are really interested in climate, education, in particular girls' education. And thank you very much for the invitation. It's great to be here.
Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Luisa. I'm from British Expertise International as well, so I work alongside Emily in the Education International Development space, and similarly very interested in education sustainability. And I think one of the very interesting topics of today is entrepreneurship and sparking that innovation. So very keen to hear more about that, and really, really love the articles. I'm looking forward to read more about it.
Great. Yes. Hashi?
Hi, yes. So my name's Evian, or Evie for short. I'm with Vodafone. I'm a graduate, so it's my first year working at Vodafone. And yeah, as part of that, I'm just taking up opportunities to volunteer at different organisations. And yeah, really happy to be here.
How great that Vodafone allow you to volunteer where you wish.
Yeah, it's really, really exciting to be here. It's a fun day. And
oh, yes, good point. And this lady. Her desk is not allowing you to do that.
I'm Jessica. Hi, everyone. I work for a social research consultancy in South Wales. I found this event very last minute. I came for the SRA conference, which was just down the road earlier in the week. But we do a lot of work in just transition space, and I also do work in education policy. And I guess in Wales, we introduced the Wellbeing of Future Generations Act. And I just feel like I want to do something more impactful, and I don't know what that is yet. But I saw this day, and the talks looked really interesting, so I just wanted to come along, see what was going on, and learn as much as I could. Yeah.
So your number one value might be impact right now? Is that what's driving you?
I think so. I think coming from research background, I always feel like you're documenting the problems almost, and you're not coming up with the solutions. So. That's what I'd like to do.
Really good point. We're going to pass over to you and ask whether are you clear about what your number one value might be?
So a very good question. Well, the one that jumped out to me when I was skimming through the list at the front was hope. And I think, so I work in education with young refugees, and it always has been a very challenging space, but particularly at the moment there are a lot of fresh and quite entrenched challenges. And when I look across that space at the moment, even in terms of other organisations that are working in it, I see a lot of people becoming burnt out, and a lot of people becoming cynical or having to disconnect because it's too hard to just stay connected. And just a loss of hope, I guess, really. But I think it's because of that, and kind of alongside that I'm like, actually, hope is one of my core values, and I do believe in the possibility for change and for transformation and for things to not always have to be the way that we see them at the moment. And then I see that, I believe in that on a macro level, but I see it like in the young people that we get the privilege of working with. And then when you see it in, one young person last week, you're like, right, well, I'm going to see it in another young person next week. And just listening to you ladies talk about the articles that you're writing and the ideas that you have this morning, that's like another example where you're like, yeah, how can we say that there isn't hope for things to be better when we get to come here and listen listen to things like this. So thank you. It's been a really lovely introduction to the day. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, I really appreciate you talking about hope, because I feel as though that's one of the key values. We say that if you, I know I asked you to prioritize your top 5, but even if you were to give this summer or this year one value word, let's say it were hope, you would be amazed at how your year will transform, because you will be looking for that. You will be actively, like every day will be like, oh, like you said, this is what's encouraging me today. And it's the same as Harleen's, like, you know, powerful moments or small moments that contribute. I also wanted to say, given the area that you work in, refugees, last week I was in Berlin, and it was a very hopeful conference. It's called the Global Summit of Women. Christine Lagarde and many others were there, and it was basically a room of 1,000 women from the corporate sector and others. And they were really there to encourage one another and to hear what are the pressing issues. And I was asked to talk about migration. The macro theme of the conference was values in a digital age. Are there any? What do we do about this? Are we sleepwalking into a disaster, especially for the younger generation? And how do we make sure, one, that there are values, but two, in terms of migration, how many myths are we told? We're told that if there's migration, there'll be less contribution, but actually, of all the startups that are created, 36% are created by migrants. Taxes, more is paid than ever taken. You never hear the facts that, you know, yes, 100,000 people came into the country last year, but 50,000 people also left. So there's just so many myths around migration and refugees that don't stack up, and it's creating a fear story that are just not true, right? And hence Brexit happened based on non-true facts. So I think this idea of taking that one, whatever that one value is, and letting it transform is great. So we're going to give the mic over to you.
So is the question, what is the number one
value for you?
I think in this last year, so just to reiterate, I am currently pursuing my MBA at the Said Business School, University of Oxford. Yeah. And so from my previous career, and then I took a sabbatical to really think about what step I wanted to take next and where I really wanted to lead my career to be and what were the values that would drive that decision. And I thought, you know, going into this MBA, I have a clear idea of I have a pretty good idea of what I want to do. And it wasn't until I had a conversation with Rasha, actually just a couple weeks ago, where she invited me to really think about what is my passion, and like if you don't have constraints on, you know, needing to land a job right away or wanting to pay back your student loans, you know, whatever it is, what would that work look like? And so I did this exercise a couple weeks ago. I didn't really think about it in terms of one single word value, but I think if I was to choose the word, it'd be exploration, because while I've been at business school, I have taken so many classes where I've gotten, you know, just different perspectives on the problems that I was already curious about. And so from that exercise to think about what my passion is, I've decided, because it is a decision, right? Like you can decide whatever your passion is. You can decide any day to change. So if today you want to be a finance girly, like that's great. But 10 years from now, you might not want to be anymore. And I've decided that I am deeply passionate about the effects of climate change and forced migration and people moving around and oftentimes having to go to economic hubs only for opportunity. And I think in England, that is deeply relevant, where I think the statistic is 90% of all economic opportunities are in London. And you know, this obviously is commonplace around the world, but I would love to be able to nurture ideas for innovation and regeneration of communities in more rural places. So how do we support people and change makers and youth who want to, you know, stay where they are? Rootedness, I saw in your book, I thought was really interesting, and potential, and identify that in places where currently, you know, there might not be as much potential, like economic activity is one way to describe this, but resilience and regeneration meaning, instead of that graph that Bethan showed us in the first one, where the earth is like the business as usual, we're going down, we're going into the gray zone, as she said. And regeneration is in the green zone, where you are actually improving the system that we live in, improving the ecosystem, improving the livelihoods of people. I would love to be able to help nurture those potential buds, as you like, those seedlings, as the connector. I think is where I'm at right now.
So 2 quick things to share on that. Perfect. Firstly, that you're totally in the right place. She said that it's a choice, right? And which is true, that we often think, well, you can't help what you're triggered by, or what, you know what I mean, like that violation I talked about, well, you can't help what you're violated by. But actually, what you choose to focus on, you can help, and it is a choice. And so really, this book is a tool of decision-making. The reason we're even talking about values is because all your decisions, micro and macro, are 100% based on your values. So the more you become clear about it, the easier your decision-making becomes. And essentially, you're giving yourself time and space to decide, what is that for me? So that every time you're having to make a decision, you're not having to rehash again. What is it for me? Where do I start? And you're not having to do it in a split second. You've done all the groundwork. And so this is like a sacred space to help you do exactly that. So regarding forced migration or migration, especially environmental migration, Australia, just last week, is the first country in the world ever to have decided that they're creating a environmental visa, because Tuvalu, a tiny Micronesian island, is now almost uninhabitable. 1, it's sinking, and 2, it's the sand and salt, sand, sea, and soil is becoming too salty to live on. So all those residents are now welcome in Australia. And this is at a time when actually Australia is saying, sorry, like the rest of the Western world, we need to hunker down. There are too many international students. We don't have enough infrastructure. There are restrictions on visas. We have to, like you're seeing all over the Western world. So it's really nice to see a change in that. And the other thing, in terms of people being happy where they are or rootedness, Bhutan. So Bhutan chose not to focus on GDP, but the gross national happiness index. How is it doing that? It's thinking, well, how cities aren't the answer, right? Greater pollution, greater traffic, greater problems, greater theft and murder and whatever. Actually, how can we make sure that people in their communities right now have provisions? And so they're trying to make sure there are great schools, there are great health provisions, and that there's work and meditation centres. So that idea of building community across wherever you are, I think it's really, really novel. And the King of Bhutan, who also went to Oxford, is in the book. So do we have time? I just want to do a time check. Do we have time to make sure, have we got time to ask the others? Yes. Great.
So I kind of have 2.
Yeah, great.
I would say integrity and humility. I think through my faith, I try and always do things with integrity and with humility. So that even if the decision isn't accepted by everybody, and I'm looking at Michelle because she doesn't accept, but I'm just a friendly face. At least I know I'm doing it for the right reason and considerations from my faith, which has got me to always be thinking about having humility and having integrity.
I think it's all the faiths of the world, like the scriptures are included in here because all these values are in all the faiths. It's just that with the demise of faith, we're finding there's a demise of values. So it's almost like trying to resurrect that in another way. So thank you for sharing that. I'm just finding a nice slide. Carry on. Yeah.
This is a really tough one because I'm actually going through re-examining what my values are and what that's going to drive me to do in the future. And similar to what you were saying, sorry, Christina, I definitely play a connector role, like a problem-solving connector role. I'm not necessarily someone who ever seeks spotlight. So it's much more, how do we make this work? How do we make these people feel better so this works? So I'm actively going through this. That's why I love the fact that I have this book right now in my lap, that I can actually walk through this, you know, take these 100 values, turn them into 20, turn them into 5, really crystallize them. So
watch this space as well. Yeah,
absolutely. So
okay, brilliant. Yes, Richard.
Thank you. Yeah, so I've had the time to think about it while everyone else has been doing that. So for me, I think the word respect probably more than anything else, but it's very broad. So because I think if I think about things that I would change in the world or things that I find upsetting in the world, it's always the case that at heart they have to do with unkindness or not thinking, and that's true both for environmental for impact on nature as it is for. So, you know, pick a topic, whether it's, you know, climate change or Ukraine or whatever. That's the core theme. I think I looked up in the book, and the country is Japan. I don't identify with Japan remotely. So I guess you could interpret the word respect in different ways. So it's not a kind of formal sort of I must respect because that's the rule kind of thing. It's kindness, I think, is probably another way of putting it.
Yeah, and that if we had respect, it's almost like the foundation.
The world would be a better place, to say the least, yeah.
Thank you, thank you. I'm coming round to the rest of you, but I wanted the girls to...
I think it's recently changed, so I would say it was resilience during exam time, 100%. But I think now it's more, I would say, loyalty and harmony. I 100% agree about sisterhood and just having each other's backs. I went to a mixed school, now I'm at an only girls school, and I'm seeing the sisterhood, I'm seeing how everyone's very supportive of one another, and I think I just appreciate it so much more, even with this internship. The girls are just so sweet and amazing, and I think that's what I'm just appreciating so much more, and just making sure that I'm, you know, loyal to anyone who I have in my circle, and I'm loyal to myself as well, and my other values, and just harmony, you know, just being happy, helping out anyone I can, backing someone when I need to them, just supporting everyone. I think those are my values right now. Yeah.
Great, thank you. We're going to remember that during the... Yeah.
So right now, I know I said I want to become a journalist, but I have loads of dreams. And one of the things I struggle with is making a goal out of all of those dreams. And recently I read a quote that said, I dream that one day God uses my pockets to help other people. And I feel like I lack the confidence to do that. And through this internship, I feel like Dr. Rai has seen so much in me that I have the ability to do that. So something that I have is community and confidence.
I love that quote. We're going to all post it somewhere, right? That's incredible. I dream that I have the pocket to help. What was it?
It was, I dream that one day God uses my pockets to help others.
Yeah, I dream that one day God uses my pocket to help others. That's phenomenal. Thank you.
So I met Dr. Mandeep last year during the London Business School, the Power of You program, which was also about like sisterhood and developing each other. And one value that stuck out to me was impact, which is Slovakia. And I feel like I always have so much to give, so much in me that I just want to impact others in so many ways. So like when you said you did the refugee work, I would love to like make an impact on their lives, or like the impact on the world, because I feel like there's so many people who have opportunities, talents, but because of their environments, they're not able to flourish. And I believe that that should never hinder anybody, that we should all be able to strive for greatness. I feel like we should all just be able to live good lives, no matter the country, the continent we come from. So I feel like knowing that, I want to make sure I make positive impact in society, which is why it's my LinkedIn bio. I want to make a positive impact in society.
And so I'm just going to give a shout out on Hadessa's behalf. So she's super keen to work for the UN or some organisation. And I know some of you, I heard it during the presentations, are part of those type of organisations. And also just some of her reflections during this internship. So first, she lives in South London. And coming to North London, she was like, whoa, this is out of my comfort zone. And then the second day I took her to Wimbledon and she was like, oh, there's very few ethnic minorities here. In fact, it seems to be the cleaning staff that are here, you know, in Wimbledon, and where are the others? And it was just, every time she stepped further and further out of her comfort zone, Hedesra, I'm speaking for you now, and tell me if I'm speaking out of turn, or you can correct me. I feel like you kind of grew more and thought, oh yeah, I can see that there's me in my home, there's me in my home, as in my home. She could see herself in my home, and she could see herself everywhere she went. So there wasn't anywhere that you didn't belong. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Key value right now? Yes.
Oh gosh, wow. I'd say that something like, well, sisterhood definitely is at my core. I love it. I'm like, oh, you go, girl, you know? You have to have a life with love and joy. You know, it has to drive you. So something, I'd say devotion, but you have to be devoted to what you do.
Yes.
So there's a myriad kind of all of those, I think, that bring me together somehow, of being devoted to what you do, you know, your family, what you love in life, and, you know, in terms of you have to have joy in your heart, and the sisters around you that keep you together. So there's some kind of beautiful tapestry of
There's
that.
5 right there.
There's 5, and I could just hopefully keep going and going and going, and they're all in this beautiful book right here. So you know, if I could add more, I would. But I think that's where I am today, and hopefully I'll add more and more and more and more.
That's an important point. If I could add more, I could. So, although of course you could add more, the trick is to complete those 5, like make them into habits and then add more. Because if you have 7 or 10 or 12, you're not even going to remember them, let alone be able to do anything about it. It like leads to overwhelm, which is why organizations, we did a big study at Harvard on this, like we try and limit it at 5. If you have too few, let's say you only had love. Love is great, but love can also lead to burnout. In fact, any value, they're all positive values, but if you just focus on one alone, it has a shadow. Everything has a shadow. And so the aim of basically having 5 is that there's enough balance that you don't have to experience the shadow so much, but it's not too many that it becomes unfathomable and you can't do anything with it. So you're perfect. Where you are is just spot on.
Oh, good job.
And then we'll give it to the girl behind. Thank you.
I've been doing quite a lot of work on it recently, and I attended this leadership course over the last 6 months, and we were talking about the strengths that we have at work and how we put together our ethics into action, but also like values. So has been a lot of work internally, I would say, but I think probably I have few, I don't have one. I think loyalty. I'm a very, very loyal person, and I think I was actually asked, like, how you want to be as a leader, and I think I only had men as examples, as bosses, that are very interesting, and probably will go to you, because I started working in finance, and finance is a very harsh word. And working with men, you always have that example of how you are as a leader, and this is how you need to be, and you kind of like slide into that area where you start treating people like resources and being harsh and demanding. And then I'm not like that, you know, in personal life. I'm a very caring person. I care about people. I want to make an impact. So being a woman and getting that voice as a woman and understanding who you are and what makes you special as a woman is very, very difficult. And I think it's a journey that I don't know where it's going to lead. And I think it's challenge, and it's a very beautiful journey to see and explore in the next years. But I think probably one thing that I lead with is loyalty, and the way I'm loyal to the people around me, my friends, my family, my work colleagues. I think that's kind of like one of the big things. And honesty, I think that's the other, transparency.
So this idea of having one another's back, you can see if you had any one of these women on your team, you've got a better team, right? And the thing about the period we're in, I know as a planet it feels like we're regressing, especially in terms of, you know, women empowerment and women issues. It is, perhaps will be the case for the next 4 years. But that's where we have to make sure that we're even stronger for one another. Because if companies or organizations aren't going to make it a priority, we have to make it a priority. At the moment, unfortunately, there's not one person, female of color, leading any FTSE 100 company. There's more people called John than there are, you know, like there is not one person. That's not because there aren't women being educated. 60% of us graduating, as opposed to 40% males. It's not because we're not doing well. It's because somehow in that ladder, more and more we're being edged out. So I really, you know, just as much as we want these girls to succeed, even non-executive directorships, like where are the opportunities for women? So again, we just have to make sure we all hold the door open. If we're leaving one or if we hear of one, we make sure a woman is taking that place, because no one else is going to make sure that you're there. Thank you.
Thank you. I suppose to follow on a bit from what Louisa said, who, by the way, is a wonderful, wonderful boss, a very, very caring boss. I think my core value at the moment is probably togetherness. I see that that's Kenya's. But I think today, on a global scale, but also on a personal scale, as you were saying about loneliness, we just can't afford to leave anybody behind. We have to go together. And I think, yeah, climate-wise, social-wise, work in the aid space, so recent cuts-wise, more than ever, we need to be together. And so my core value would be togetherness. And we are all together today.
Yes, speaking of togetherness, after my colleague has spoken, we're going to do a team picture all on the stage together, if that's okay, because we're all in it together. Thank you. Do you want to stay here?
Yeah.
Yes.
So I could talk a bit about my values as well?
Yes, please.
Yeah, so as I said before, hi, I'm Evie, and I'm a first-year graduate at Vodafone. And I guess my main value at the moment would be curiosity. So I'm using this opportunity to pick up new skills, meet lots of different people, volunteer with organisations like London Zoo and Digital Camp, and just see more about the world and pick up different ideas and skills and attributes. So yeah, I guess that would be my core value at the moment. Yeah.
Brilliant. Stay here, join us here. Cool. And then, so we didn't get a chance to talk to you. Would you like to introduce yourself, or? Yeah.
Hi, I'm Joshua. I'm from Singapore, and I'm from the venture capital space. So thank you so much for sharing today. It's very interesting.
Great. We love venture capital. Rasha and I have both worked in venture capital. And we feel that, so guys, venture capital is when you invest in startups and invest in new ideas. And whether we're thinking about loneliness or any of the topics we've just discussed, a venture capitalist would say, yes, we need funding in that, and then help you get funding or give you money. Is that fair?
Yeah, I would say.
Yeah. Is there a value that's leading, like pulling you towards venture, or just pulling you in life?
I think it's just the innovation aspect. I think that everyone has their own story to tell, and they have a certain perspective. And when you integrate these perspectives, you can then do things constructively, create products, and which have a societal good. That's what I would say that is driving the process.
I couldn't agree more. So what we would do is, if you're interested in the book, I will meet you afterwards. But if for now, we could all join the girls on the stage and take one team picture, and the gentleman at the back, you have my phone, if you're okay to take one picture for us. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, 1, 2, 3.